It's 1995, and Casio think they have an untapped part of the Japanese console market. And they released this, the Casio Loopy. Yep, the rarest console I own. Which is also code for it was a complete failure in the marketplace, and that's why there's not very many of them. Yep, Casio thought they found a gap in the market, and that gap was young girls. Yeah, of course it was. It's not that designing a console for girls is a terrible idea. It's just they didn't so much design this console for girls that actually exist, they designed this console for what their stereotypical idea of what a girl wanted. And if they had, maybe they discovered that what they wanted was not a sticker printer. The first question you have to ask with the Loopy is, did that market really exist? Well, it's time to do a quick bit of market research of our own.
Hello, fictional support line for illustrating points in a sketch format. Retro Princess speaking, how can I help you?
Hi. Do regular non-gendered games consoles cause health problems for women?
No.
So, could they cause headaches or allergic reactions, fainting fits or swooning in women?
No, no and no.
Huh, so maybe it's the other way around. Do women cause consoles to catch fire? Hello? Are you still there? Huh, guess the line's gone dead. If only Casio had done that level of market research, it would have probably saved some real effort. We can only assume everyone involved in this was a man probably in their mid-40s, who were aiming this at what their idea of teenage girls wanted in a product. And they hit the mark for that about as well as you assumed they would. Boy, did this thing not sell. If you've been watching UK retro YouTube, you may have a false idea of just how common the Loopy was, given that a fair few YouTubers have covered this thing. However, there are only actually a handful of them being passed around by a few YouTubers who happen to own them to all the others. Unsurprisingly, I got mine from Johnny Blanchard, who covers a lot of Japanese machines. So if it was not for Johnny, yeah, I probably wouldn't be making this video. Hang on, wait a minute. Blanchard! The main aim of the Loopy was to sell sticker cartridges, and thus every game revolves around, yep, you've guessed it, printing stickers. This is probably the only reason Casio ploughed on with this thing, as they could see the ongoing revenue from printer cartridges were going to keep the money rolling in, even if they could only sell a few consoles. This revenue model, while unique for consoles, is exactly how printer manufacturers operate. They don't make the money off the printers, they make it on the ink and the toner. So you can see why Casio thought this was a good idea for making some money. Casio were also no strangers to this printer market, as they'd been making a variety of label printers for a number of years at this point. So creating a games console that was basically a glorified sticker printer, yeah, that probably fell right within their wheelhouse. Now this was not Casio's first outing into console failure. As before the Loopy, there was the PV-1000. It was Casio's first ever console, and it bombed hard. It was based on a Z80 CPU and an awful lot of bodge wires by the look of it. I mean, look at the state of this thing. This is not a prototype, but a production shipped unit. Yeah, no, really. I mean, none of the games for this thing are great, but some of them are fun. A lot more fun than the games we're going to see in a minute or two. Okay, speaking of games, it's probably about time we covered the games that are available for the Casio Loopy. I mean, I'm using the word game here in the loosest possible sense. Yeah, the games are about as bad as you'd expect them to be on what is essentially a sticker printer with pretensions of being a games console. So, hold on to your hats, we're gonna cover them oh so quickly. Harry Seal Paradise. Yep, absolutely nothing to do with Seal, sadly. I mean, if this game had involved seals, it probably would have been more fun. It's just Seal is Japanese for sticker, and this game is just a sticker designer. Yeah. Anime land. Oh, look, another sticker designer. Yay. Bow Wow Puppy Love Story. Yep, that's one heck of a title, isn't it? Right, this game is basically a series of text menus over an animation of a girl with her parents and a puppy. Yeah, probably print stickers too. Yeah, after much time selecting things in menus, the girl finally takes her dog for a walk in the park, where we can only assume that she proceeds to do more mushrooms than a hippie at the height of solstice, as she encounters a living doll from her early childhood and a talking clock. After this somewhat unlikely turn of events, she enters a world made of her own imagination that's been taken over by veg. Yeah, no, veg. Maybe it was LSD she took. Anyway, you then help the girl defeat the veg by playing the rest of this very, very crappy game. Or like me, you turn it off and hit the stupidly big eject button and then chuck the cartridge in the bin. yeah, you then get it back out the bin again because, you know, it's a retro item. Although it must be said, the developers in this game kinda messed up, or at least from Casio's point of view, because you can't print stickers until you've completed the whole of this terrible game. So I'm guessing no one ever printed a sticker from this thing, because who the hell wanted to finish this thing? Dream Change, Kokin-chan's fashion party. Yep, this is a game where you get to choose the correct outfits and backgrounds for a given fashion assignment. Guess what? You can print stickers of said outfit and background. Little romance. This one lets you design a manga-style comic strip, and guess what? You can print it out. My god, that's surprising. I want a room in Loopy Town. In what looks like it might be the only thing on this game console that is actually a game, you get to decorate your room by buying items from a catalogue and taking a part-time job to pay for it. It's a bit like Animal Crossing, only 5 years before. Oh, yeah, and of course you can print stickers of your room. Oh, that and there's no anthropomorphic Adam Smith to kind of get you into debt. Lupitons Wonder Palette. It's a kid fix type game. Oh, yeah, and of course you can print stickers as well. Quelle surprise. Kaka-kun's Charm Paradise. Now this one's a fortune-telling game, and if you're thinking to yourself, I wonder where sticker printing comes in, well, you can print out Lucky Charms. Because yeah, at this point, why not? I mean, clearly the owner of this thing has no luck, as her parents bought her a Casio Loopy. Caricature artist. Yep, this one lets you make caricatures, and possibly bully your friends by making stickers of them. PC collection. Yep, this one is one of those multiple titles on the cartridge type cartridges. For example, it's got a word processor that you can use a joypad to type stuff in with. Yeah, but yeah, that was fun to use. Of course, every single one of these stupid apps prints something. Of course it does. Magic Shop. Right, so this one's not so much a game as a hardware add-on. It lets you capture video stills from a TV or VCR and then draw on top of them, and guess what? Print a sticker of it. I'm sure this was never used inappropriately at all. This add-on was fairly pricey, but in an act of extreme hubris, Casio made nearly as many of these things as they did the Loopy. So this add-on's now a little bit easier to get hold of than an actual Loopy. Oh, thank God, we finally run out of games to look at. Yep, the Loopy had a grand total of 10 games. Drink it in, everyone. But before we move on to other matters, I will cover just one more add-on. Yep, you get a mouse for the Loopy. I mean, it's not a great mouse, it's a fairly cheaply made ball mouse, but it's basically fine. And to be honest, this would have probably made a better default controller for the Loopy, as most of the games involve moving a pointer across the screen. The Loopy's not the first console in Japan marketed towards girls. Oh no. Before the Loopy, there was the Lady Super Cassette Vision. Yeah, which is basically the same as the regular Super Cassette Vision, only pink. Yep, that's the only change. They made it pink. Very girly. It did include a game called Milky Princess, however. Yeah, no, you couldn't make this stuff up, could you? Right, so let's get a closer look at the kit itself, starting with the PCB. Actually an okay design. CPU-wise, this thing's got a 32-bit Super H processor, designed and created by Hitachi. It's a 32-bit RISC design and was used in the SX32 for the Sega Mega Drive, with later versions of the same processor being used in the Dreamcast. It saw most of its success as an embedded CPU being used in TVs, etc. And it gained Linux support, so that really opened up the classes of devices it could be used in. Although the original design is no longer being updated, it's still in production until 2025. And also, given the fact that its patents have now expired, a clean room implementation known as the J2 has been made open source for running on FPGAs. Graphics-wise, the Loopy is actually surprisingly good. It's got a PowerVR2 chip, which is the same one they used in the Dreamcast. So spec-wise, this is actually a pretty good effort. It's basically got most of the same parts as a Dreamcast, and yet the games are, well, terrible. We should probably have a little look at the printer cartridges as well. After all, that was the entire point of the machine. The cartridge has got the sticker paper built into it, as you'd basically expect. However, it's also got this colour film in it, which the print head heats to deposit on the sticker paper. This is fairly cunning, as it stops users replacing the sticker paper in the cartridge, as without more film, it just won't work. The Loopy had a pretty short life due to its poor sales, thus Casio never launched it outside of Japan. God only knows how it would have been marketed in the UK. Casio Loopy, not away, console made a misogyny. The Loopy was never going to compete with consoles of this era, like the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, or even the N64, even if Casio had tried. But the big question is, how big a failure was the Loopy? Well, given the Atari Jaguar is now the SI unit for failure in the console market, it's time to find out how big a failure this thing is on the Jaguarometer of failure. And the result is 0.5 Jaguars. Now, before you Jaguar fans jump into the comment section and point out how many more units the Jaguar sold, I'll explain why the Loopy did not fail as hard as the Jaguar. And the short answer is, Casio is still here. Yet Casio didn't bet the farm on the Loopy. They thought they had a niche and, they were wrong. The Loopy did not have a big R&D budget. There were no custom ASICs, nothing strange. Everything was basically off-the-shelf parts. Who knows, even given the margins on this thing and the limited R&D budget, Casio may even have made a modest profit on the Loopy. Whereas Atari, they ploughed everything into the Jag. I mean, absolutely everything, every last penny, and it still wasn't enough realistically. So when the Jaguar failed, it took out the whole of Atari with it. Casio was in a very different position with the Loopy. Casio made a whole host of products, from watches, keyboards, label makers, you name it. So when the Loopy failed, it was just one product out of many, so Casio could afford for the Loopy to go south. So when it did, Casio just moved on and, made another watch. Well, that about just wraps things up for the Loopy. If you made it to the end, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, why not share it with other people? Post it on social media. According to YouTube, that really helps. I'd like to thank Retro Princess for helping join in with all this nonsense. And also the talented Mr. Zombie Workshop for contributing his art skills once again. And if you're feeling in the mood to be super helpful, you could always subscribe, as that does make a huge difference to channels like this and helps videos actually get seen on YouTube. You could even gently tap that little bell if you fancied.